Welcome to Nature Therapy Online. Hello friends, and welcome to episode 24 of Nature Therapy Online. I'm Stephen McCabe and I'm an ecotherapist working in Scotland. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time. So at the moment I'm walking across some farmland near where I live in Midlothian, and I've got my dog Yoro with me. It's kind of a strange sky here today. It's like a silvery blue. It's like it doesn't quite know what it wants to do today. It doesn't know whether it wants to snow or be sunny or rain or what. So we've still got some snow on the ground here, only little parts, little dollops of snow left. Because we had this very strange weather about 4 or 5 nights ago called thunder snow. Have you ever heard of thunder snow before? I've never heard of it in my life, but apparently in the Lothians here where I live, a lot of people called the police in the middle of the night because, you know, thunder usually happens in the summer, but here we have such weird weather in Scotland that it happened in the winter, and it coincided with snow. And it created a very strange noise, apparently, in some parts of the Lothian that some people thought was an explosion. So it's interesting what nature can make us think of, you know. I suppose culturally, you know, that's often what we think of these days when we hear a big bang, whereas maybe, you know, 100 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, I wonder what people would have associated it with. But for me, I just woke up and saw a lot of snow, and it got me feeling festive. So I put some Christmas music on and bought some final Christmas presents that I needed to buy. And I do think that the snow kind of, you know, inspired this. So again, you know, we think we're separate from nature, but actually what's happening in nature and the goings on is inspiring us or influencing us. It's not always inspiring, is it? You know, but it's you know, it's always influencing us in some way, our moods, our behaviours. And I wonder if I was an ecotherapist, if I'd have even realised that the snow made me, you know, take up all of these Christmas activities. But that's not what I want to focus on today in the podcast. What I want to talk about today is hills and mountains. You can hear me walking here, you can hear my squishy feet on the ground. That's where the snow has turned to water and left a lot of mush. So you might hear Yoro. If you hear a little dog tag noise, yes, Yoro, yes, we're talking about you, chicken. Yes, that's it. That'll be Yoro. Yeah, there's something that the snow made me think of was hills and mountains. You know, these big, strange, unique shapes that the earth has created. And I got to thinking about it because it was one of the most striking things I noticed when the snow fell. How these hills, the Pentlands hills they're called, near where I live, were just one of the most striking things, how completely covered in white snow they were. How from one day to the next they completely changed the whole feel of the landscape. And you know, you may live in You may live in a part of the world where there aren't many hills or mountains nearby. But if you do, I wonder how well you know those particular hills and mountains. So if you closed your eyes now, let's try it. Even people who don't, have hills or mountains nearby, you'll have encountered some hill or some mountain at some point in your life that you remember. So hopefully, at least, let's close our eyes for a moment. Relax. And try to bring the shape of these hills and mountains to your mind. Think of the outline, what they may look like, what their actual unique shape is. Now, if you're struggling with this, don't worry, because I expected it to be the case. And I think that's because even though these hills and mountains that we know are such a dominant part of the landscape, we so often don't pay attention to the detail of them. And they're so incredible, it really, watching and paying such close attention can tune us into the actual earth that is under our feet, It can be a really grounding experience just to pay attention to those towering hills and mountains. So now, for example, I'm looking over at these Pentlands hills I was telling you about. And they're very smooth, actually. And actually, I've got a lot of low clouds floating even over the top of the hills. So it's actually obscuring the shape that I can see today, which is very interesting because usually it has a very smooth bump, almost like I don't know why the Loch Ness Monster was the first thing that came into my mind. It's probably the most Scottish reference there could have been, isn't it? But yeah, I guess today I'm looking at how the mountain meets the sky and how if I just stop and watch here, I can see small parts of snow and ice remaining, but mostly just this amazing feeling of the earth actually touching the sky, the clouds touching the earth. It's a really beautiful sight, actually, very calming and relaxing. And I wonder if this is something that you could try for yourself, to get to know a hill or a mountain near where you live, or perhaps a hill or mountain that has been important to you, even if it was far away on a holiday at some point, and maybe take a pencil. This can be really a very grounding experience. It doesn't have to be a work of art that you create. Just take a pencil or a pen, even piece of paper, and just trace the hill. So if you can't find it nearby, you could maybe see if you could find it online, or find a hill or a mountain that's significant to you and sketch. You might be thinking, well, I tune into this podcast because it's a nature podcast and not an art podcast. And you're right, this isn't an exercise in creating world-class art. Trust me, if it was, I would never sketch anything. But first of all, I think, hills and mountains are beautiful, and we don't get to know them in the way that we get to know sentient life forms, like a pet in our lives, or a human, or or even a type of animal behavior that we might recognize in a wild animal. We somehow take them for granted, and without this earth we wouldn't be here. And sometimes it's nice to home in on a particular hill and give some gratitude and thanks for being alive, and to acknowledge this tiny part that we know well, that we've connected with at some point in our lives, and to say, I want to get to know this little bit a little bit better. So it's not about making a piece of art, it's about just sketching its outline, getting to know the hill a little better, and watching how we feel as we sketch. I like to think of it as a channeling, like if I sketch something, that I'm channeling nature, what I see through my eyes, through my hands, onto paper. It's like us as a being of the earth, part of this big whole. It's like the universe taking a photograph of itself. So that's my exercise for you this week, folks. If it's a hill that isn't nearby, find a picture of it online if you can. If you can go and see it, that would be even better. You might not want to sketch it while you're there, but top points if you do. But if it's too cold or wet or whatever reason, take a photo and take it home and sketch it. And notice in the future how more connected you feel to the earth around you, just in knowing the peculiar and unique shape of this particular piece of land. So that's my invitation for this week, folks. So I hope you're having a nice week, whatever's going on, wherever you are in the world, whatever season it is for you right now, whatever time it is in the world. A lot of people will be listening back to this podcast retrospectively. So hello, future person, if that's you. If it's not December 2020, then welcome to the past. And it's nice to meet you, future person, as well. So, before I go, just to let you know, if you are in the here and now at this current time, I'm hosting a free online ecotherapy session in January 2021. So please join me online. All you need to do is go to naturetherapyonline.net and scroll down, and you will see the link to the free ecotherapy event. And follow to the Facebook link and you will get the link to join us on Google Meet there. And of course, you can always support the podcast at patreon.com/naturetherapyonline. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure sharing my hills and mountains with you. Have a lovely week and take care. Bye-bye. Visit me online at naturetherapyonline.net.